Tech is not over. You know, every time we say it's over and the P's need to be crushed because the Fed is moving and it's the end of the free world again, that's a buying opportunity, just like it was 2 weeks ago on that nasty Monday.
Woo! Baby! Oh man, Kevin O'Leary is biting his tongue today. That guy couldn't have gone into a bullish sentiment into Facebook in one of the worst drops it's ever experienced in the last decade. The pain is real. I am down 4 figures on the largest investment in my portfolio. And after we get through the good, the bad, and the ugly here, I'm going to explain to you what I've done with my almost 70 shares I had in Facebook stock and how I generally feel about it moving forward, and obviously my general opinion. So we're going to be pouring some drinks tonight, offering some solace to the soul while this company just tears the entire market down with it. And if you can offer some enlightening encouragement, just hit that like button, folks. I'd absolutely appreciate it. But we got to get right into this because I know a lot of you are interested in buying Facebook here, and we're going to talk about some intriguing facts about it. But I think it's more important to start with the bad news. And first and foremost, guys, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they generally save the market, but what they didn't do was offer guidance, and that was the mistake Facebook made. And we're going to talk about that guidance because, oh my God, guys, take a look at Amazon. It is down 7.3% on that news. Snapchat down over 20%. Square, Shopify, Twitter, all of them, because they're all e-commerce plays. They're all advertising plays that directly relate to what's going on in the underlying economy to some varying degrees. And yeah, this is by far the worst drop. I think it's just, I don't know what to say about it, guys. It is absolutely unbelievable, but in my opinion, well deserved. And we're going to talk about this right now. And we're going to start off with the worst of this because first and foremost, what you probably heard on CNBC, which I wish they explained everything that happened in that earnings call because there's a lot. But first and foremost, $10 billion is expected to be lost because of Apple not allowing them to do targeted advertising and not allowing them to collect data. This is more painful than you think because what CNBC didn't tell you was what they said on that earnings call is that small business conversion ads are dropping drastically, which primarily means if you're in a local area, small business, and you want to advertise to local people, you're seeing those ads that you're paying for convert less and less, which means the ad spend is being less efficient. They said, however, on large ad spends in big business, they're still seeing great conversions, but small business, that's what runs small town America. I thought that was what Facebook's business was. And if that part of their business is getting hindered, guys, it really breaks my heart because it means it's not fueling the underlying economy as good as, well, I honestly could have hoped. And on that note, guys, too many idiots. And I wish it was more like Tesla because Tesla, we get a lot of intriguing Q&As. On this Q&A, they didn't mention anything and offer enough anecdotes or interest in VR, augmented reality, crypto, NFTs. We really didn't hear about any of that. It was more about the patchwork that they're going to be doing on their business. And let's talk about that patchwork because some of the good news is that Facebook is potentially building one of the most powerful computers ever built. They're investing heavily into artificial intelligence, but they're also investing into patching a lot of the damage Apple's done. I don't like hearing that. They're literally saying that we're going to work out some new algorithms. We're going to look at new ways of doing targeted advertising. And on top of that, guys, they're trying to expand into Instagram Reels more and more. And the problem is that their business is peaked from a growth metric of new users. We now, for the first time, saw stagnation from growth quarter over quarter. What does this mean? This generally means they're losing an incredible amount of audience to TikTok, the younger generation. And they're saying that they're trying to fix this with Instagram Reels, which I think is just patchwork because it's not going to bring on a new audience, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I think Instagram Reels is catering to millennials and boomers, people that already use the platform that just kind of want that more TikTok kind of experience from their original social media platform. So I don't feel like how much money that they're going to invest in fixing this stuff is going to add to any major growth outside of the current base of audience, which the base is still massive, guys. Don't get me wrong. This company, cash flow rich, never going to go bankrupt, has a lot of opportunity to figure out new ideas. The problem, though, is that they're going to be losing growth rates that unfortunately kind of changed my conviction behind the company because my conviction was you're getting this company that can grow at a 15 to 20% rate year over year while they invest in these new, really incredible platforms from virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, obviously all of these growth metrics that could really pan out, but right now are insanely speculative because we don't know what that future looks like yet. But now we're only getting the growth rate of basically a consumer discretionary. I mean, their guidance offering for Q1 is only 8% on the lower end, guys. That is what you can get out of a consumer discretionary, consumer staple company. That's not what I want to hear. And something tells me they're going to be struggling to keep up with that just because of the demand of the competition that's really hurting YouTube as well. I mean, this isn't just a Facebook problem, but again, Facebook is the only one offering guidance. And this puts a lot of fear into what's going to happen with Apple and Google because they just kind of shrouded away from that. However, some of those cash spends, guys, what I wish they talked more about was the Oculus, the Reality Labs, their largest investments, putting $4 billion into Reality Labs for the first time ever, seeing $1 billion in sales from Oculus, which was incredible, which again, I wish they clarified more of that on the actual balance sheet stuff that I could not find from the earnings release, which was very, very frustrating. Now let's talk about the bullish side of this business. And Kevin O'Leary had one more statement going into the earnings that I think offered some prevalent insight. So take a listen.
The unregulated metaverse, the Wild West metaverse, which is also getting traction, is not going to be popular with big advertisers, because if you go buy real estate and set up a liquor store or a porn site in the metaverse that's unregulated, that's a problem if you're a brand. What Zuckerberg's going to start talking about is a curated metaverse where he can guarantee you safety in terms of what brands you're associated with. These are the issues that are going to happen. You have to start thinking about the metaverse as a real place for advertising as people start to explore it through the gaming communities. And so I think Zuckerberg's going to start focusing on the value enhanced by being a curated metaverse, and the street's going to pay up for that because he's one of the only places you can do that. Yeah, you might hate him, maybe he's horrible and get dragged in front of Congress again, but the market doesn't care.
So Kevin O'Leary makes great points. I honestly think with the losing out of newer audiences, younger audiences, they're going to regain that value by getting into the virtual reality, because I'm using the Quest like 3 nights a week, and I'm noticing that there's a much younger audience being breached through those platforms. And I know a lot of people are bearish on the virtual reality. They're like, oh, it's prehistoric. It's not even like HD. The quality's not that great. But to be honest, as a millennial using it, I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be revolutionary technology. We don't know how it fully comes into the future, which makes it much more of the speculative aspect of Facebook. But at the same time, I think it's what's going to reignite kind of that youth audience, because like I said, one of the things that makes me so bullish on Tesla, guys, is when you talk to kids today and they watch their favorite influencers, do you know what cars they want now? They do not want Ferraris. They don't want Lambos, Mercedes, or BMWs. They are completely fixated and fascinated on a Tesla vehicle, which isn't out of reach of affordability. So over the next 5 years, as 15, 16-year-olds grow up and start getting their driver's licenses, it's going to continue to grow that demand. Branding power really matters, and I think people underappreciate branding. And if you go back and you learn more about Apple, if you learn more about Nike, and you see how those brands breached the youth audience, you can really see how that inspires a whole generation of growth. And that is something that Facebook is losing out on right now that really changes some of my conviction behind the company, obviously here, guys, but some of the things to look forward to: supercomputer, AI, artificial intelligence. If you come in here, you can learn a lot about the intriguing ways that they're starting to use applications for this. Obviously VR, AR, obviously gaming, engineering. There's a lot going on from the growth aspect. But again, I feel like you're speculating on that and you're losing out on the initial growth we could have had from the fundamental business that now looks like it may have peaked. Now, for me personally, let's talk about my shares, my ownership in this company, guys. I unfortunately paper-handed in this market. Now, take that with a grain of salt here, because I think it is a buying opportunity. I think newer investors are paying at a fair value today at this PE of around 15 to 17 for what you're getting within the company. I think that is more than fair enough. I'm just more than aware that over this next year, we're not going to be hearing like incredible earnings calls. So that's something to just be, cautious of and understand. And I honestly think in the next 2 to 3 years, that's when we're going to start seeing them get into the advertising and the value aspects of VR and augmented reality. But while you sit, you're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to just kind of collect that general rate of return. But at least you're sitting on a company that will not bankrupt, that has the best balance sheet pretty much still of the S&P top 10. It's still an incredible balance sheet perspective. So that's why I didn't sell out of my entire Facebook position. But because of that earnings call, a lot has changed with just generally how I feel about the company from my highest conviction investment, right? You might not have had all of your money in Facebook. Heck, you might have just started cost averaging into it, or you're new to the company. You're like, hey, this is a buying opportunity for you. That is where you'd want to be. For me, I don't want that being my highest conviction investment anymore. So I scaled it down. Tomorrow, I'm going to reveal what I did with that money, how much I scaled down, because like I said, guys, I still own Google, I still own Facebook, I still own Apple, Microsoft. I just started doing some weighting adjustment because, again, it sucks that I'm down 4 figures on the position, and I'm not taking the loss, by the way. My average buy on Facebook is in like the 210 range. I was buying shares at $170 initially. Like, I have a great cost average, so I'm not losing money selling it. I'm just in a position here, guys, where I don't want the position to be as big because the underlying business isn't going to be growing at a 15 to 20% clip. So that means I'm more or less speculating on the future of their investments that haven't materialized yet. And I don't want to make that big of a conviction in it where I know I can park capital where I can get much higher growth rated returns. But that's just kind of where I sit from my personal perspective. Again, I did paper hand, but I'm still holding a decent sized weighting in Facebook, and I'm going to reveal more of that tomorrow. So consider subscribing for that. But I pass the question off to you. How do you guys feel about this? I mean, I really wish I took some profits off Facebook and I didn't go as heavily leveraged into it. But hey, man, that's the joys of investing. You learn. And when you listen to these earnings calls as an individual stock investor, you have to come to your own conclusion. Do not listen to CNBC. Do not take what you hear online, even from what I'm saying, guys. Always do your own due diligence. Come to your own conclusion. That is always going to yield the best results for your portfolio. And in light of this, stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you in the next one. I need to pour a drink.